Good afternoon. Just kidding. Good afternoon again. I'm Brian Renfroe. I'm the president of the National Association of Letter Carriers, and on behalf of our 280,000 members, first I want to welcome you to the Vincent R. Sombrado building and thank you for being here to show your support and solidarity with us. Our union has a 135-year history of fighting for our members. And today we are here to kick off the next chapter in that fight. So first, a question for you. Are you ready to fight? I'd say so. Are you ready to fight like hell? Great, because our members, this nation's letter carriers, other postal and federal employees, and all of our brothers and sisters in the labor movement are ready to fight. We are ready to go to war and defend what we have rightfully earned and fend off attacks on us. And there's a lot of people right now that are trying to knock us down. Whether in our case it's management over at the Postal Service, ill-intentioned lawmakers on Capitol Hill, criminals that target our members on the streets, or anyone else who tries to attack us and what we've earned, we're ready to fight. So for us, the fight starts with the folks at the Postal Service over at LaFont Plaza. We are in a fight for a better collective bargaining agreement for our members. Yeah. Letter carriers are the backbone and the heartbeat of the Postal Service. Americans depend on the Postal Service, and without the dedication of all of our workers, there would be no Postal Service. We continue to prove our strength, adaptability through changing business, through the pandemic, and what we did as essential employees. Our jobs are challenging, physical, and they're harder than they've ever been. Now, you can't put a price on what letter carriers are worth, but I can tell you we're worth more than what the Postal Service is putting on the bargaining table. So, that's why we're here to demand more. We've earned more and we deserve more. For us, that starts with higher wage increases, a single pay table for all that guarantees 100% cost of living protection regardless of where a letter carrier is in their career, elimination of non-career positions, and transitioning us to an all-career workforce. And every letter carrier should be in uniform from day one and provided the uniforms that we need to do our job safely and comfortably. And lastly, it's a simple matter of dignity and respect that the Postal Service, once they bargain an agreement with us, they must comply with that agreement. It's simple, but it's what we have earned. So we continue to call on the Postal Service to come to terms with us on an agreement that represents our value and gives us what we have rightfully earned. The fight for a better contract is ongoing, not just for us, but for our brothers and sisters in the other postal unions, who you'll get to hear from this afternoon. But that's just one area where this fight is critical. We're also fighting to defend the health care benefits and the retirement benefits that we have earned. These are not gifts, they are not handouts. We've worked hard for them. We've paid our fair share for them. That's why we're fighting against some of the backward ideas that we now hear on Capitol Hill. So let's be really clear about this. To those who may suggest increasing what we pay for our retirement, reducing our benefits, by altering the calculations, or maybe eliminating our retirement altogether, they should know that these ideas, what they really are: theft and a pay cut to the hardworking civil servants that serve the people of this country. So using the hard-earned benefits of those civil servants to, quote, balance the budget or give the super rich a tax cut, it's not just unfair, it's not just wrong, it's disgusting. And if they try it, we will fight like hell. So speaking of misguided and dangerous ideas, it seems like every few years we begin to hear talk of those that think it's a wonderful idea to privatize the Postal Service who we work for. These ideas directly attack letter carriers, other postal employees, the universal service we so proudly provide, and a safe and reliable postal service itself. But it's also an attack on every single customer that we serve in all 50 states, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. And here's a reminder for the folks that may have these ideas: the Postal Service is older than this country. And the Postal Service is established in the Constitution of the United States. The work we do in every community in this country is paid through, even though I know some of our friends on Capitol Hill seem to forget this, revenue from you, those that pay for postage. It's not taxpayer dollars. So we've got an anti-postal privatization resolution in Congress, HRS 70, that would express a sense of the House to oppose any attempts to privatize the Postal Service and protect it as the public entity that it is. And we will be in the fight against privatization until every single member of Congress co-sponsors this legislation. So, everything we talk about here today is important. But perhaps nothing is more important than the safety of our members while they are doing their jobs. And this starts with an end to the violent assaults and crimes that have been committed against our members and happen almost every single day. Violent attacks, robberies at gunpoint or with some other weapon, and even murder have become part of our jobs. These are very real threats. They often leave our members afraid to even go to work. It's horrible, it's terrifying, and it must be stopped. Unfortunately, in most cases, the criminals that commit these crimes are not even prosecuted. They commit violent federal crimes and get away with it. The Department of Justice in this country, under this administration and the previous administration, has failed America's letter carriers. We've rallied around the country over the last couple of years, and we've even seen some improvements in the crime numbers and the prosecutions. But we have a long way to go. And I'm going to be real honest and blunt with you. We should not still be talking about this. There is an answer. That answer is letter carriers need to be protected, and the people that commit these crimes need to be prosecuted now. Now, fortunately, a piece of legislation called the Protect Our Letter Carriers Act was reintroduced last week in both the House and the Senate. It's a bipartisan piece of legislation. It will be a big step in the right direction to deter these crimes from happening and making the Department of Justice do its job. But like everything else on Capitol Hill, it's not going to happen without a fight. So today, we call on Congress, every member of the House and Senate, prioritize what's important. The safety of the people that serve the citizens of this country in every state, in every congressional district, pass this bill. So this fight for our safety is not just about crime. Whether we are in a post office on the workroom floor or driving around in our postal vehicles or walking the streets doing our jobs, we must be safe and protected from all hazards. A major part of this fight is continuing our now dozen-year-plus fight for heat safety for our members that work outdoors and are exposed to the hazards of excessive heat. Last year, we made major strides in a rulemaking process. Former Secretaries of Labor Marty Walsh and Julie Sue, great friends of letter carriers and all workers, did the hard work and created a proposed rule that would put forth a heat safety standard that includes all the factors necessary to mitigate the effects of excessive heat. Currently, with certain executive orders and some apparent attacks on the Department of Labor and OSHA, that rule, along with many others, has been paused indefinitely. Those that are in positions to make decisions regarding this rule in particular need to understand how dire this situation is. Every single year, a record is set for being hotter than the year before. That is fact. And as we continue working in these extreme temperatures for longer periods of time, for longer portions of the year, the hazard grows. It poses serious health risks. We've suffered countless heat injuries and even several deaths that are directly attributable to heat illness over the years. And we've been fighting for this, as I mentioned, for over a dozen years, and we are now closer than ever to the comprehensive solution that we need. It is time that this country, like every other industrialized country in the world, has a standard to protect workers from the hazards of excessive heat. Adopt this rule. Our fight this year is also about fair retirement. Last year we celebrated, along with a number of our brothers and sisters in the labor movement that represent civil servants, a great victory in finally passing the Social Security Fairness Act. The repeal of the grossly unfair windfall elimination provision and government pension offset, after that has now been done, all retired letter carriers and other civil servants will finally get the Social Security benefits that they earned. That includes their survivors. My mother would be upset if I did not mention that. But our fight for retirement fairness is not over. Nearly 70% of the active members of the NALC that work for the Postal Service started their jobs as non-career employees. And currently, the time they worked as non-career employees is not creditable for their retirement. This is completely unfair. As non-career employees, they did the same work they currently do as career employees. Soon, the Federal Retirement Fairness Act will be reintroduced that would allow eligible letter carriers and other federal employees the opportunity to have that time credited for their retirement purposes. And I can promise you that as soon as that bill is introduced by our friends in both parties, we are going to continue to fight like hell to get it passed so that every single letter carrier, no matter how they started their career, has all their time creditable and gets the fair retirement that they are entitled to. Now, as NALC members all across the country will tell you, I could stand up here and keep going on and on. This is just a sampling of the fights that are in front of us. And we, collectively in this room and across the country, have a lot on our plate. We have a lot of battles to fight. But we're ready. But how do we do it? And I think there's no better way to illustrate how we do it than this. If I just asked myself only, not asking you, just myself, what are we going to do? And I said, fight. But then what if I ask you all, what are we going to do? Fight. Let's do it again. Attaboy. What are we going to do? Fight. Those voices are louder than one voice. The more of us that join in the fight, the more effective we will be. That's how we do it, together. So together, as members of the NALC, together with our brothers and sisters in support and solidarity from our labor family, the people that are picking this fight, I'm not sure they know who they are going to be fighting with, but they will learn very quickly. Because one thing is clear to me today, and one thing's clear to me from the communication that I have with the members of our union, our brothers and sisters from other unions, we are ready. Now is the time. And brothers and sisters, we are privileged today to be joined by the several national officers and national business agents from our union, the NALC. How about a round of applause for them? As well as leadership from our sister postal unions, as well as our brothers and sisters that are also leaders within the labor movement. And we are privileged to have the opportunity to hear from several of them. So first, I'd like to welcome someone that knows a little bit about a good fight. My sister and dear friend, AFL-CIO President Liz Shuler, is the fearless leader of the labor movement in the United States of America. And in this critical time, for so many workers across our country, there's no one to better lead us than Liz. So it's an honor to have her here with us today. President Shuler.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. And Brian, I just want to say thank you so much for your strong, steady, and fearless leadership. Appreciate you. And I know that everything that's been coming our way, you've been a little busy, and so have we all, but I want to thank, of course, Nicole and the leaders on the stage here. I know we've got our postal union community here with Mark Dimondstein, APWU, Don Maston with the rural carriers, and Paul Hogrogian, of course, from the mail handlers, in addition to Matt Biggs here with the IFPTE, Greg Regan, TTD, Transportation Trades, Sara Nelson from AFA-CWA, and I know that there are more en route. So it's all of us standing together. Look at this stage, right? Amazing to see the solidarity of our labor movement in this moment. And to every letter carrier out there, you have the voices and strength of nearly 15 million working people who have your back. That's right. And Brian said earlier, your work is what binds this country together. You are the connectors. And you're not only delivering those life-saving medications, you're the human being that shows up and actually connects with the person that is on the other side of that door. Not only do you make sure our paychecks and our birthday gifts and our letters and our ballots get to where they need to go, you show up in snowstorms, in heat, as Brian said, in situations where no one else can. You're out there getting the job done. And I was telling Brian, I got home last night after a very late night talking tariffs with our Canadian labor counterparts. And I got home around 9:00 p.m. And I sat down on the couch, and what did I hear? The letter box in my door with my mail being delivered at 9:00 at night, right? Think of the demands that are being placed on our carriers. And you're working longer hours, and more is being asked of you. And without you, this country could not function. And so, we are here today to demand more because we deserve more. Is it okay to be out there when it is 110 degrees with no national heat standard to protect us? No. Is it okay to have lifelong careers and carriers who are struggling to get by, not able to retire with dignity? No, that is not okay. Our letter carriers are getting attacked, harassed, even killed on the job, as Brian said. Everyone deserves to be protected at work and return home safe each day to their families. That is a baseline that we all take for granted, right? These past few weeks, folks, they have tested us. There are folks out there thinking that we're just gonna sit by and we're gonna, watch what's happening. Just listen to them degrade federal workers and like we're gonna just give up. Are we gonna do that? No. Well, what I see out there is working people rising up. And I don't know about y'all, but this is like my 5th rally this week because we are rising up. We are fed up. We are coming together, joining forces, building power. That's right, doing what the labor movement does best. And what is it? Fight like hell. Fight like hell. So are we ready to fight like hell for our federal workers? Yeah. Are we ready to fight like hell for our dignity and our respect? That's what I thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Now it is my privilege to introduce someone who understands this fight, I promise you, because he has been here and fighting it for years now. And I have been, again, privileged to have been alongside him in that fight over the years. His members, who letter carriers work with every single day, face many of the same threats and attacks that we talked about earlier on. It's really a proud thing for me to say on behalf of, I think I can speak on behalf of Mark, Paul, and Don, that our four postal unions have really never been closer or worked together closer than we do right now. So it is my honor to introduce my brother, the president of the American Postal Workers Union, Mark Dimondstein.
Solidarity greetings, brothers, sisters, NALC and union family, and I'm proud to be here representing our 200,000 members in this Fight Like Hell rally. The working class, in its quest and our quest for justice and a better way of life over the years, has always had to fight like hell. And in this historical moment of billionaire oligarchy and no guardrails or respect for the rule of law and an ongoing literal coup happening before our eyes, we will have to fight like hell, like we've never had to do before, and we will need to do it together. DOGE is coming for all of us. But let's be clear, this DOGE is not about efficient government. It's about how to rip off the public sector and the people so the Elon Musks of the world, President Musk for that matter, of the world, can shift the work and the profits into the private sector and continue to laugh all the way to the bank. And in these troubling times, we should well remember and think about what I'm going to share with you. Well, remember the words of Reverend Niemöller, a German Lutheran pastor who initially supported the rise of the Nazi fascists in Germany, but was imprisoned after resisting the Nazi control of the church. And some of you may have heard this before, and some of you may have not, but I think it's good to be reminded. And what he said, because he survived, and so he could share with us today his lessons. And what he said was this: when they came for the communists, I did not speak out because I was not a communist. And when they came for the socialists, I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. And when they came for the trade unionists, I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And when they came for the Jews, I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then when they came for me, there was no one left to speak for me. So when they come for AFGE and the federal workers and their union contracts and our union contracts and rights, speak up and together fight like hell. When they set out to destroy the Department of Education, the needs of 15 million special needs students, speak up and together fight like hell. When they target hardworking immigrants and try to divide the working class around our status, our color, our language, speak up and fight like hell. When they talk about ending disaster relief, speak up and fight like hell. When they talk about undermining workplace safety and undermining OSHA, speak up and fight like hell. When they come after Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, affecting tens of millions of people, speak up and fight like hell. And when they target our veterans with cuts to VA services and medical care, speak up and fight like hell. And when they talk about inciting more war and seizing other countries like Canada, Greenland, Gaza, and Panama, speak up and fight like hell. And when they raise the specter, Brother Renfroe already addressed the postal privatization and the impact that will hit every one of our crafts, from first mile to middle mile to last mile, and will affect the people of the country, speak up and fight like hell. Brothers, sisters, union family, we cannot solely elect or litigate or grieve our way out of these difficult times. We will have to do it together, and we'll have to fight our way out. And no matter who we voted for, no matter our political affiliation, let's go forward with courage, determination, and unity, and fight like hell. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I'd now like to introduce Greg Regan, the president of the Transportation Trades Department at the AFL-CIO, with which NALC is proudly affiliated. He represents members across the transportation sector, so whether it's rail workers, airline crews, engineers, or letter carriers, he's always looking out for union workers who keep our country moving. Greg, thanks for being with us.
All right, good afternoon. And I'm so happy to be here and proud to stand with you all at this critical moment. And Brian, you know, the last time I was able to join you at a press conference, it was when you introduced the Protect Our Letter Carriers Act. And it was, you know, the progress that you've made, the leadership that we've shown, and that your union has shown at bringing this to people's attention, bring this to the forefront, shows what we can do, the difference we can make when we stand unified and we fight together for better outcomes. Unfortunately, right now, we're not just facing assaults in the workplace, we're facing an assault on the public sector. We're facing an assault on the essential functions of federal government. The idea of public, when we think of public, you know, you think of public roads, public bridges, public libraries, public parks, public schools, public transportation. All of these areas, these are investments that we make as a country, that we have made as a country because it is going to better the lives of the people that live here. And it's not driven behind profit motives. They're not driven by making sure that somebody can skim some off the top or actually, you know, make a little money on the side. These are because we as a country made the decision that this is an essential service for the people who live here. The Postal Service is just that, an essential service for the people who live here. And to continue with the theme that Mark mentioned, I mean, when you look at what's happening in important agencies across this country, whether it be USAID, CFPB, the Postal Service, we're seeing the shutdown of the grant process that have been done through Congress. All of this is a direct assault on the workers that we all represent, but also on the people of this country. They just don't know it yet. They don't know what the consequences are going to be. They're not going to see what their benefits are taken away when their public services are reduced. We are the ones that need to show that. We need to remind people what public good means, what public investments mean, and how we are able to fight back unified and defeat these attacks on our essential services. I, for one, am really, really excited for this fight because we are right. We are fundamentally right on this fight. We know that we have the better arguments on our side. And together, with all of us in solidarity, with the labor movement in solidarity, fighting forward and reminding people about the essential work that all of us do and all of our members do, we are going to win this fight because we are going to fight right now. Thank you so much. I look forward to it. Sure.
Thank you, Greg. Now we'll hear from another union in our postal union family, that is. Rural letter carriers across the country are deeply impacted in almost exactly the same way as city carriers by the attacks and all the other challenges that we talked about earlier. So we're certainly glad to have them here with us this afternoon. Many of these fights have been ongoing for some time, and we have worked with the National Rural Letter Carriers Association to push back and fight against things like the crime that we've been experiencing, and we're excited today to renew those efforts. So please help me in welcoming the president of the National Rural Letter Carriers Association, Don Maston.
It's a pleasure to be here. I got to say that anytime a sister union asks for a show of solidarity, you can damn well count on the NRLCA to show up, and brother, we are here. Letter carriers aren't just employees, they are the lifeblood of our communities. We deliver far more than mail. We bring medications that heal, paychecks that sustain lives, and ballots that empower. Ballots that empower, keep that in mind. Every day, collectively, we all knit our communities together, and our work deserves respect. The work can be hard, the long hours, the weather, the cold, the hot, the conditions can be difficult. Our commitment never wavers. All postal employees demand the recognition and respect that we deserve, both as workers and for the communities that we serve. Now more than ever, we must stand together. When one of us is mistreated, every worker is harmed and every community suffers. We must stand in solidarity to ensure that our essential service is valued by the employer and protected by Congress. We face a fight against privatization like we have never experienced. There is a real threat on the horizon. The president and other politicians are attacking the federal workforce. The threats of privatization are becoming far too loud, some even calling on Elon Musk to look at the Postal Service. This isn't a distant threat. Sisters and brothers, it's at our doorstep. We must recognize that privatization isn't about solving systemic problems in the Postal Service. It's about shifting blame onto the backs of hardworking postal employees. At risk is our job security and negative impacts on working conditions and reducing our service to a corporate bottom line. Cost-cutting measures driven by profit will sacrifice safety and quality of service. For all of us, it would negatively impact America. Imagine an America where your trusted city or rural letter carriers are replaced by faceless contractors, where vital services are slashed, personal trust and care is lost. Our neighbors deserve reliable, community-centered service, not decisions made solely on a profit chart. Every time profit is prioritized over people, it's our members and our communities that pay the price. We must fight like hell to keep our service public and focused on the people that it serves. We must stand together to fight and pass the POLK Act, Protect Our Letter Carriers Act. We've been in harmony on that issue since last year. The POLK Act is our shield against the rising tide of assaults and theft that target our letter carriers each and every day. There aren't just crimes against workers, there are attacks on the very fabric of our communities. This legislation strengthens penalties for those who assault our carriers, replaces outdated arrow keys, and ensures every letter, package, and ballot is delivered safely. In recent years, theft and assault on letter carriers have spiked at alarming rates. We must stand together. We must demand that our legislators pass the POLK Act. Our safety, the security of our mail, and the trust of our communities depend on it. In closing, we fight for our communities, we fight for our future. We're not just delivering mail, we are delivering hope, connection, and strength. Our fight for fair contracts, our stand against privatization, and our push for the POLK Act are battles for the soul of America. I agree, we must unite and fight like hell. I call on every one of you to stand up and speak out. Our voice is our power. Together, we can ensure that our service remains safe, respected, and indispensable to every community we serve. Let's stand together for our rights, for our safety, for our communities, and for our future. Brothers and sisters, in solidarity, we stand with you.
Thank you, Don. So next is I mentioned there were 4 postal unions. You've heard from 3 of us already, and I can promise you he doesn't mind being last.
Well, you never asked me.
No, it's my pleasure to introduce, NALC's really long-time partner in representing postal employees. We've been in lockstep with the National Postal Mail Handlers Union on every issue for decades now, and I'm honored to introduce to you my friend and brother, the president of the National Postal Mail Handlers Union, and always entertaining, Brother Paul Hogrogian.
Good afternoon, everyone. I had the pleasure to see many of you last summer at your convention, and it was certainly my pleasure. I was told I got 3 minutes, so I got to make them count. So here we go. The NPMHU is fully supportive of the NALC in its fight for a fair contract. We all know, especially Mark and Don, whatever happens in your contract is going to come back and affect us. And so we know we're all in it together. Whatever, you get good, we're going to get good. You get bad, we're going to get bad. Like I said at your convention, and I say this whenever I speak before a contract, whatever they ram down your throat today, they got to shove up our ass tomorrow. So we're fully supportive of that. And to get you a fair contract, I might as well keep it going. To get a fair contract, what we got to do? Fight like hell! We have to fight like hell that carriers and all postal workers are protected when performing their job. I mean, this is fucked up. Wait a minute. Think about this. Carriers are getting beaten, attacked, robbed while they're doing their job. And we have to have a fucking rally to stop it. Huh? How fucked up is that? And what are we going to do to stop it? And you know the old saying, elections have consequences? I never used to believe it. Sure as hell believe it now. Has never been truer in light of the 2024 elections. MAGA Republicans now control the White House. They control the Senate. They control the House of Representatives. They control the Supreme Court. And whatever the fuck Musk is, they control everything. So what are they doing to us? How does it affect us, postal workers? Well, they're coming after our pensions. They're coming after our health benefits. They're coming after all our benefits. They're all in danger. Our very jobs, and be honest, and I said this at your convention when I tried to warn my members to vote against Trump. He wants to take your job. And he's carrying out that promise. He wants to take your job. And I put it in a little bit stronger language there. He wants to take your fucking job. And he's doing it. He put it all, there's a blueprint, Project 2025. He put it all, this should not be a surprise to anybody. Anybody who's surprised is not paying attention. So, we must fight like hell to protect our jobs. And not only just postal workers, but all federal workers, teachers, firefighters, airline attendants. We have to all stick together. We can't fight this by ourselves. Carriers can't do it by themselves. Postal workers can't do it by themselves. Federal workers and postal workers, we can't do it. We have to have, we need Liz.
All in favor.
We need Liz.
We're all in it together.
Because it's serious. It's serious. We've been getting trumped. We've been getting doged. And now we're getting musked. Are we just going to take this shit they give us? No. Fuck no. And what are we going to do to stop it? Fight. Thank you.
I almost warned you. Thank you, brother. Next, I'd like to welcome someone who definitely understands what it's like to have many fights on their hands. With a diverse membership representing over 80,000 workers that include engineers, technicians, scientists, and more, the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers is familiar with fights. So please welcome one of our brothers and sisters representing other federal employees, IFPTE President, my friend Matt Biggs.
Listen, I'm honored to be here today. I'm honored to be invited here today and stand in solidarity with the letter carriers and all postal workers. IFPTE, we represent 90,000 workers, and a third of our union are federal employees, like Brian just outlined. And all 90,000 stand in solidarity with all of you. If you're walking a picket line, if you're doing a rally, if you need us anywhere, we will show up. We're all across the country. We'll be right there with you. So everyone's kind of talked about it here. You know, we have President Trump and President Musk, and they are running this country now, sadly. And they're two terrible human beings. I'm just going to say it. They're despicable, they're deplorable, they're shameful. They've got no respect for anybody in this room, and the people around them don't have any respect for federal employees or workers. If you listen to the rhetoric that comes from these idiots, the guy that got confirmed, or OMB, the OMB guy, Voight, he said he wants federal employees to wake up every day and be scared to go to work. The press secretary, she's not more than 25, 30 years old. It's like she's really had a real job in her life. None of them have. And she's saying disgusting and deplorable things about working people. We do our jobs. They don't do their goddamn jobs. So I'll just say this. You know, I think I have like 1 minute left, so I'm just gonna say that, you know, these folks have no shame. They have no conscience. They're coming after us. They don't care about working people. They actually take glee in coming after us and destroying people's lives. But what's even worse to me, really, is this damn Congress up here. It is run by Republicans. They run the whole thing. And as was mentioned earlier, the Supreme Court is MAGA. So we're suing. We're doing all these lawsuits. Some of us are joining us. We're doing all sorts of lawsuits. And we got to hope the courts come in and do the right thing. But the courts are MAGA. The Supreme Court's MAGA. We saw it. But this damn Congress is abdicating its legislative responsibility and handing it over, legislative branch responsibility, handing it over to a couple of billionaires that could care less. That could care less. And it's run by the Republicans, the Republican majority. They can stop it right now in its tracks. And they're doing nothing. That is deplorable. That's deplorable. So when we fight like hell, let's fight like hell and make these Republicans accountable, every single one of them that are voting for these nominees, and particularly the leadership. They don't care about us. They're looking the other way, and quite frankly, they're very unpatriotic because they're selling the country down the hole. So thank you, brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Matt. It is now my honor to introduce my sister, Sara Nelson. Sara is the president of the Association of Flight Attendants. I know all of you saw the just unspeakable tragedy that happened near Regan National Airport just a couple of weeks ago, and in the just horrific events of that night and everything that's happened since then. Since Sister Nelson, once again, has been a steadfast, strong, fearless leader in a difficult time of mourning. So a lot of our members are familiar with her. She's joined us before, and we are certainly pleased and honored to have us here to stand in solidarity with us again today. So please welcome my sister and yours, Sara Nelson.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, letter carriers. Thank you, postal workers, mail handlers, rural letter carriers. It is good to be with you. And of course, this country runs on solidarity that was defined by the United States Postal Service before we even put the Constitution in place. And I want to thank you for recognizing the hardship over the past couple weeks with the loss of our members with American Airlines PSA Flight 5342. I can't help but think about that as you're talking about what you're dealing with at the table and the efforts by management everywhere to try to shift costs to workers, to try to have workers pay for uniforms. So let me tell you something. Denasia Elder, who will be buried on Saturday in her home in Charlotte, did not have a uniform left at home for her family when they wanted to bury her in that uniform because she was a new flight attendant who could only afford to buy the minimal number of uniform pieces. Now, we got that uniform for her from the company, so, all right. But the point is, these are not uniforms. These are human beings in these uniforms doing the job to move this country, to bring us together, to get us our medicines, to connect our communities, to feel like I've got a port in a storm when I go to somewhere I don't even know, but there's a postal service office there, and I can relate to that and feel in solidarity with all of you. Now, they came for our pensions, and across the airline industry, and in the United Airlines bankruptcy, 38-month-long bankruptcy, when $80 million would have saved our pensions, the judge approved termination of our pensions, and in the next hammer of the gavel, awarded $400 million to the top executives. What if you bought an airline ticket and you were thinking ahead and you want to buy it early and plan for those costs that you need to take your family on that vacation that you have promised them because you've been working your ass off so hard with overtime, you're not there at home with them, and you plan for that, and after you buy that airline ticket, the price goes up because there's less capacity and more demand for that travel, and the airline comes back to you and says, you're going to need to pay the difference between what you paid and what that airline ticket is worth now. That's what they're trying to do with your pensions and your health care. I say, fuck no. And let's be really clear. A fight for a fair contract is a fight for our federal government, for the services that all of us count on all over this country. Because if they can diminish the worth of a letter carrier, they can try to get people so demoralized that they quit the job and their work to try to privatize has been done for them. So the fight for the contract is the fight to keep the Postal Service in the hands of the American people. Flight attendants offer our complete and total solidarity with you in this fight. We know that your fight is our fight. We know that the revenue from the Postal Service that goes on our planes that helps us deliver the medicines to our veterans and to other people who receive that important service at their homes, and their ballots, and their ability to get their Social Security checks, and their ability to communicate with each other. This is what brings us together. And I can't do my job if you can't do your job. And so we're here with you every single day to say that your fight for fairness is a fight to protect our civil liberties across this entire country. And that every single person who participates, no matter what they look like, no matter where they came from, no matter where they worship, no matter who they love, is just as important to keep our country moving. We are united. And it is we who plowed the prairies, built the cities where they trade, dug the mines and built the workshops, endless miles of railroad laid. Now we stand outcast and starving midst the wonders we have made, but the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever. Solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. One final thing, Mother Jones said if you're gonna fight, and she said this while she was fighting to end child labor, she said if you're gonna fight, don't fight ladylike. I I'm not a humanitarian, I'm a hell raiser. We're gonna raise some hell and we're gonna fight like hell. Fight like hell. Fight like hell. Thank you, solidarity, union siblings.
Thank you, Sister Nelson. I am not singing. I want to just thank you all once again for being here today. Thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you to all the officers of the NALC that have joined us. And thank you to all of you. This is the kickoff of a campaign that will continue throughout 2025 and as long as these fights remain in front of us. So what are we going to do? One more time. Thank you, brothers and sisters.